Well, fast forwarding to the 20th century, there was a very strong nationalist movement against Christianity in the 1920s, probably fueled by China's newfound nationalism that developed after the 1911 rebellion and the sort of radical new ideas beginning to influence Chinese intellectuals from the Bolshevik movement in Russia. And many Chinese intellectuals were becoming Marxist. And so by the 1920s, it was kind of dangerous in many parts of China to be a Western missionary. Many Western missionaries actually fled China in 1925 because there were widespread nationalist demonstrations, I think quite justifiably arguing against or demonstrating against the British tendency to try to break strikes and to suppress China's emerging nationalism. So then you have the terrible period of the 1930s and the Japanese invasion of China in 1937. That really brought an end to any widespread, strong Western missionary effort. And when that was followed by the Chinese Civil War between the nationalists and the communists that lasted the period from 1946 to 1949, many people thought, quite understandably, that Christianity had now come to the end of its rope in China, that there had been 120 years of Protestant missionary efforts to persuade the Chinese to adopt Christianity. The Catholics had been there in force as well, but the fruit of their missionary efforts was kind of meager. And so when the missionaries, the few remaining Western missionaries, were kicked out of China in the early 1950s, probably by 1953 the last of them had to leave, many people said, that's the end of the Chinese Christian experience. Forget about it. Communism is here. Most Chinese are grateful that the Civil War has come to an end. The communist regime is doing its best to restore normality and prosperity to China. The Christian churches were allowed a sort of token presence in Beijing, Shanghai, and a few other cities under an umbrella organization called the Three Self-Patriotic Movement, which was designed to supervise all of the efforts of Protestant clergy in China, by this time all of Chinese origin, and to persuade these clergy to espouse communist doctrine and communist theory for the transformation of society. Now, the clergy didn't specifically have to adopt atheism, but they had to approve of Communist Party policies, which certainly were opposed to many of the Christian ethics that the missionaries had been preaching for decades. That might have led to a sort of living death, if you like, of Christianity, a sort of fossilized museum existence for a few followers of the Christian faith.